This is every single type of relationship mapped onto a graph because y'all fucking love this relationship graph. We have this now. So like any graph, any good graph, what are the axes? What do the axes mean? First one, x-axis. This is emotional intimacy. So it goes from low to high. So emotional intimacy here is how emotionally close, how vulnerable, and how connected you are with this other person. Now for the y-axis, this is structural commitment. So this is like how much consistency, exclusivity, future planning structure is built into the dynamic. Starting with the first point on the graph, which is the hookup zone. You know what this is. You might have met this person on Tinder. You might have met this person at a bar. It's like I don't even know their last name, or to be honest, you don't even know their first name. Late night texts only, no deep conversations, minimal eye contact in general, zero expectations, ghosting is common in the hookup. Therefore, it's low emotional intimacy and also low commitment because you just don't know anything about each other, okay? It's like there's like no expectation that you have to see this person again. You don't have to know anything about this person. It's like pure physicality. And in straight contrast to the hookup, we have the high emotional intimacy, high commitment point on this graph, which is the secure relationship. So the secure relationship is what a lot of people aim for or they hope for in a romantic partner. So like you guys have emotional, physical, logistical intimacy, right? There's like trust in your relationship. You're established as the relationship. You've defined the relationship. You guys know where you stand, okay? You may or may not know each other's phone passwords, but also you trust this person enough to not have to check that stuff or want to check that stuff. This person, you might call them your boyfriend or girlfriend, you might call them your husband or wife, they might be your fiance, they might not be, but there's shared emotional intimacy, there's high commitment, you guys probably have shared rituals, you have future plans, you have inside jokes, and most importantly, you trust and you like this person, maybe you love this person. Conflicts exist in the secure relationship, but they get worked through, and you see yourself with this person long term. This type of relationship, because it's so high in emotional intimacy and also high in commitment, it's a safe relationship. You know, you feel good in this. Maybe sometimes, just sometimes, it's even boring, but only sometimes, right? Only sometimes, but like all in all, deeply nourishing, deeply satisfying to be in. Okay, moving on to a popular term nowadays, we have the situationship. So the situationship is placed on the graph. It's high emotional intimacy, but it's low commitment. So here there's high emotional intimacy in that this might be someone that you have long, vulnerable conversations with at 2 a.m. Or it's like a hookup that's gone, like you've had too many discussions about what your future plans are, like with this person that you met on Tinder one time, and then you just like kept consistently saying. There's no actual label on what you're doing, but you're still like regularly hanging out. Maybe you're saying, I miss you to this person. Maybe you've even told this person you love them. However, there's no label and there's no official expectation that you guys are exclusive. So maybe either one of you is still seeing other people, maybe, okay? That's the low commitment part. Situationships are weird because they often feel really intense and faded because of how deeply you guys know each other, but they're also unstable because you don't really know where you are. There's no label on anything. You probably overanalyze everything in your situationship because nothing is guaranteed. Also, if you're not sure whether you're in a situationship or not, or if you're watching this portion of the video and you're like, I'm not really sure if that's me because I feel like every other bitch is talking about situationship, then you might be interested in the other video I made called Are You in a Situationship? The link is up there, it's also down there. Okay, moving on. We're now going to do the opposite axes from the situationship. So you know how like the situationship was like high emotional intimacy and low commitment? We're now going to do low emotional intimacy and high commitment, aka the functional couple. So what is the functional couple? This is the term that I made up just now. This is the couple, you know, that's like officially together. Maybe they're still living together, but like they're romantically no longer actually that into each other, or like either person has checked out of the relationship even though they've technically not broken up. If you're in a functional relationship, it's functional in the way that it's like structurally sound. Maybe you're still officially together, maybe you're still living together, but your emotional intimacy is low and your conversations are probably surface level. You probably avoid real deep conversations even though the commitment is still technically there. So like one example of something that you might see in a functional relationship is like this person picks you up from work, but also low-key you guys don't really like talking to each other. You kind of hate each other, but you still might be together out of habit or duty or convenience, or like you just can't afford to rent out by yourself. If you're in a functional couple relationship, you might feel flat or like irritable, or like you might have silent dinners with this person. A good way to think about this is like if you feel alone with someone in the room or like in a relationship, it's basically the couple that stays together like purely for logistics. Like maybe you've been together for so long that your lives are just entangled in such a way where they can't really split up without having to split up the rest of their assets, or maybe you've just been together for so long that you don't really know anything else. And the unknown possibility is worse than unknown misery and dissatisfaction with your current life. Okay, the next type of relationship we're going to talk about is love bombing. So you can see that this is different from the other dynamics that we discussed on the graph, because this is not really a point on the graph as much as it is a line that goes from low emotional intimacy and low commitment to high emotional intimacy and high commitment. So love bombing, for those of you that don't know, is when there's sudden, intense emotional and structural changes to like a relationship that you have with someone. So it's like you might have met this person like 2 days ago and now they're like showering you with compliments or showering you with gifts or saying I love you, they want to get married with you, you know, like it goes from like 0 to 100 really, really fast. These types of relationships often end in chaos or withdrawal or disillusionment because of how fast you went from 0 to 100. You probably don't know anything about each other, or it's honestly, sometimes it's manipulative, maybe intentionally, maybe not intentionally. And you might be looking at the graph right now and you might be thinking, Crystal, this graph is not good because I can see that the love bombing starts from down there and it goes up there, right? But it's right next to the secure relationship, and that's not good, right? Because it's misleading, because the two axes that you have, which is high emotional intimacy and high commitment, it makes it misleading if that point is next to secure relationship, because it implies that they are similar in nature when clearly the secure relationship is healthy and something to strive for, while love bombing is very unhealthy and unsustainable. Well, not to fucking worry, you fucking nerd, you fucking math nerd. Don't you worry your little head about it, because fucking plot twist, secret Z-axis, oh shit, oh yeah, oh fuck, massive payoff, huge surprises, a secret third axis on this chart. It's not a 2D chart, it's a 3D chart, holy fuck. Big reveal. So, Z-axis, the Z-axis, right? This is for the level of sustainability of the relationship. So sustainability, right? Like the value of the Z-axis, this is basically the question of like, can this dynamic actually last in the form that it's currently in without someone mentally imploding or like checking out, or like someone having to like compromise their mind or their ethics or their soul, right? Like how sustainable is the relationship dynamic in the form it is right now? Basically, it's like, will time erode this relationship, or like can it last the waves of time, you know? And so if we look at this graph with the Z-axis in mind, you can see that love bombing is not actually in the same spot as a secure relationship, because love bombing here, it goes from low commitment and low emotional intimacy to high commitment and high emotional intimacy very quickly, but the entire time it stays on the same value of sustainability, which is that there is none. It's low sustainability. It's not going to last very long in its actual form because it's so quick and it's so intense and it's so unsustainable. Versus the secure relationship, which you can see on top there, is actually very high in sustainability. Moving on to the next point, we have the delusion spiral. So this might be the case where like you've never spoken to this person, or like this person doesn't even know that you exist, but in your head you've decided they're your soulmate. You're married now. You've constructed an entire inner world of this person, right? And there's no relationship here, but it feels more intense than anything you've actually had. And the thing to take note of is that it only feels intense to you. And the reason that you can't see it on the graph right now is because you're not on the graph. You're off the graph. You're fucking here because this person has such low emotional intimacy to you and low commitment to you, because this is only in a relationship that exists in your head and you're only highly committed to them. I can't validly place you on the graph, therefore you're down fucking there. Okay, moving on, we now have the on and off relationship. So the on and off relationship is like when a couple breaks up and then they get back together, and then they break up and then they get back together again, on and off, right? So as you can see, this is kind of a different shape than the rest of the points on this graph, right? Where it's like a loop, and it's because the emotional intimacy of this type of relationship is like mid to high, right? Because you know each other deeply because you've been together before, so like therefore you do have some outlasting emotional intimacy, but also the value of commitment on this relationship is variable, right? Because when you're together, it's high commitment, and when you're not together, it's low commitment, therefore it's a looping shape. That's why the value of commitment fucking oscillates from like high to low, because when it's full couple behavior, you're on the top of the fucking commitment chart, but when it's off, it's nothing. So the axis here swings like a pendulum, like your emotional state. And if we take a look at the sustainability here, it's like low to medium, because clearly it's not textbook sustainable because of how much drama is involved when you guys break up and then get back together again. But also because you've been doing it for a while, it's like technically in some weird way kind of sustainable, because you guys might have been doing this for decades and therefore it is kind of sustainable, but also you never really rebuild properly without it breaking down again. So like in habit it's sustainable, but like in emotional health it's super fragile. Moving on to the next type of relationship, we have the ghost loop. So this is basically a subcategory of the situationship, but it's the type of situationship where like you're seeing each other and then this person disappears and then they're back and then they're gone and then they're back and then they're gone. Rinse and repeat. So in that way, it's pretty similar to like the on and off relationship, except here the commitment never actually gets to a point where like it's high, because you guys are never actually in a relationship. It's more like a talking stage, which like disappears and then comes back again, disappears and comes back again. You're never actually in a relationship. And obviously if you look at the Z-axis, aka the sustainability, it is very low, because you fucking know, right? Like if someone is ghosting you and then reappearing and disappearing, that shit is not sustainable. Don't even fucking kid yourself. This type of dynamic is like chronic reappearances with no growth, and the emotional intimacy might feel high because of the drama, but the commitment stays 0. And the final dynamic that we're gonna discuss is the couple that broke up but they still act like a couple. So here, you've ended the relationship, you guys are no longer together, but you're still talking every day. Maybe you're still sleeping together. You're still running errands together or like meeting each other's family. You still text every day and you might still ask each other things like, how did your day go? Or like, how did the job interview go? Did you remember to take your medicine today? So here, I have no fucking idea where you are on this graph because the emotional intimacy, right? On the one hand, it's high because you still act like a couple, but also it's not really high because of the terrible shit probably transpired between the two of you where you no longer want to be with this person, or like something is clearly broken down in communication. And on the commitment side, commitment is technically zero, right? Because you're broken up. And if your friends ask you if you're still together, you'll say some shit like, no, what are you talking about? No, we're not together. We've broken up. And then they might say something like, wait, but I thought you guys still live together. And you might be like, yeah, but that's just for logistical reasons. That's just a practical issue. That's just because of the rent. Okay, sure. But also, you're not together, okay? But on the other hand, is either person seeing someone else? Probably not. No? Okay, sure. But also, you're still somehow acting exclusive. Is it emotional monogamy? What the is going on? I don't fucking know. You don't fucking know. None of your friends know. Sustainability? I don't fucking know because clearly this is like a weird transient space and therefore you can't really say it's sustainable, but also it's lasted like 4 months post breakup and you guys are doing this weird thing where you're like fucking doing each other's laundry, but you tell your friends about how you need someone else that doesn't have the traits of this person, but like also you cuddle in bed while watching TV still. So like in that sense, it's weirdly sustainable, but also it cannot last another week. You get the fucking vibe. Therefore, I can't place you on the graph because you are like simultaneously everywhere and nowhere all at once. This is like Schrodinger's relationship. Therefore, you are a hyper chaotic manifold on this fucking graph. Like amorphous, strange, undefinable, and I don't know how to do the fucking math to make this model, so I just use the GIF I pulled off the internet. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, you should subscribe, and you should check out these playlists of my other love life relationship videos. They might be serious, they might be haha funny, or you should check out this video that YouTube thinks you should watch next.